You raise your children. You pour your love into a home. And then one day, your own son looks you in the eye and says, "Pay rent or get out." That's what happened to me. I'm Ellie Harper. I'm 72, a widow, and I built this house with my husband, James, brick by brick. But now, my son Nate and his wife forged documents to take it from me, and when I stood up for myself, she slapped me across the face. They thought I'd break. They thought I'd stay silent. But what they didn't know was that James had left me a secret trust, and what I found inside changed everything. Stay with me. I'll show you how I turned a hidden camera, a forged amendment, and one granddaughter's faith into the moment I burned their lies in front of our entire neighborhood. And if you've ever felt erased by the people you gave everything to, don't scroll. This might be the moment you take your power back. But before I take you into the darkest chapter of my life, I want to know a little about you. Are you a mother like me, holding your family together? Leave a 1 in the comments if you're a mom, a 2 if you're a daughter, or a 3 if you've been both. Your voice matters here, and I'd love to send you a special hello in the next part of the story. Let's begin this journey together. My home held our laughter, but now it's Nate's bank. Did I raise them, or did they erase me? I stood at the kitchen sink, scrubbing a plate crusted with apple pie crumbs, the scent of cinnamon still heavy in the air. It was June 15th in 2024, and my 2-story house in Lansing, Michigan felt less like mine every day. The faded floral curtains fluttered at the window, a remnant of the home James and I built, brick by brick, back when love was our currency. Now Vanessa's sleek photo frames cluttered the walls, shots of Nate's vacations, Mia's school plays, anything but our old family moments. Last night, I'd glimpsed a text on Nate's phone. Get her to sign. Sign what? It nagged at me, a thorn in my heart. I scraped harder at the plate, my knuckles whitening. I'd skipped vacations, poured my retirement into Nate's business degree, thinking it'd give him a better life. Now, at 72, I was just Ellie Harper, the widow who cooked pies and faded into the background. My chest ached, not from age, but from the weight of being forgotten. I wanted to hold on to the love that built this home, but it was slipping through my fingers like pie dough. "Mom, you done yet?" Nate's voice cut through the clatter of dishes. He leaned against the counter, scrolling his phone, his broad shoulders filling the space where James used to stand, humming Beatles tunes. At 40, Nate had his father's jawline, but none of his warmth. His career flops, failed startups, bad loans, had hardened him, and I was his fallback. "Just about," I said, forcing a smile. "Need something?" "Yeah, actually." He didn't look up. $2,000. Debt's piling up. "Can you Venmo it?" My hands froze in the soapy water. $2,000, like it was pocket change. I'd given him thousands already, each check a piece of my security. "Nate, I'm stretched thin," I said softly. "Maybe we can talk." "Your old ways hold us back, Ellie," Vanessa snapped, striding in, her heels clicking on my linoleum. At 38, she was all sharp edges, designer jeans, glossy nails, a resentment for me that burned hotter than my oven. She wanted this house modern, stripped of my clutter, as if my life was just in her way. Her words stung like a slap I hadn't seen coming. I flinched, suds dripping to the floor. I wanted to snap back to say I'd built this home with sweat and sacrifice, but my tongue felt heavy. Vanessa's cruelty wasn't new, but it cut deeper each time. I set the plate down, my hands trembling, and turned away, pie's sweetness now bitter in my throat. In the living room, Mia sprawled on the couch, her sneakers dangling over the armrest. At 15, she was Nate's daughter, but had my eyes, curious, searching. "Grandma, tell me about game nights with Grandpa James," she said, her voice bright, like a light in the fog. She loved my stories, the ones about Monopoly marathons and James's bad jokes, back when this house rang with laughter. I opened my mouth, but Vanessa cut in, her voice sharp as a knife. "Mia, don't bother with ancient history. Do your homework." She perched on a chair, scrolling her phone, dismissing me without a glance. Mia's face fell, and I felt a pang. my stories, my life, reduced to ancient. I sank into a chair, my heart sinking deeper. My phone buzzed on the table, a text from Sophie. "Work's crazy. Can't visit this weekend." My daughter, 35 and always busy, hadn't come by in weeks. I pictured her at 25, her birthday party I'd missed because I was volunteering at the hospital, saving for her wedding that never happened. She'd never forgiven me, and now her absence was a quiet wound. Did I fail them? I wondered, the pie's warmth fading in my memory. Love, I thought, should hold a family together, but mine was fraying at the seams. I needed air, needed James. I slipped out to the garage where his toolbox still sat, rusted but solid like his love. The air smelled of oil and sawdust, a whisper of the days we hammered nails into this house, dreaming of our kids' futures. I ran my fingers over the tools, remembering James's laugh, his promise. "Ellie, you're our backbone." He'd been gone 14 years, but I felt him here, urging me to hold on. On a shelf, Nate's phone lay forgotten, its screen glowing. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. A text to Vanessa read, "Get her to sign." My pulse quickened, a chill creeping up my spine. Sign what? A loan? A lease? Something worse? I set the phone down, my hands shaking, the toolbox cold metal grounding me. I wasn't just hurt, I was indignant, a spark of anger flaring. They saw me as a bank, not a mother. Imagine raising your son, only to find out he's charging you rent in the home you built with love. What would you do if the people you gave everything to turned on you like this? If you've made it this far, drop a 5 in the comments so I know I'm not the only one who's felt erased by their own family. What happens next might just shake you. I thought of Mia's eager eyes, the only one still seeing me. Maybe love wasn't gone, just buried under their greed. But that text, it was a clue, a shadow of something coming. I straightened, my jaw tight. I'd built this home, raised these kids. I wasn't erased yet. Was I their mother or just their bank? The question hung heavy, like the pie's scent in the air. The text glowed on Nate's phone. Get her to sign. What were they planning? A bill for my home sat on my counter. How could Nate betray me like this? I stood in my kitchen, sunlight slicing through Vanessa's new blinds, casting sharp lines across the counter. The coffee maker gurgled, its bitter aroma warring with the tension knotting my stomach. Nate's text from last night, get her to sign, still gnawed at me. But this morning, it was just a shadow compared to what lay before me. I was Ellie Harper, 72, a widow who'd poured her life into this Lansing home, and now it felt like a stranger's house. I picked up an envelope, its crisp edge cool against my fingers, expecting a card, maybe from Sophie, who hadn't called in weeks. Instead, I pulled out a typed letter, an invoice for $4,800, labeled backdated rent. My hands shook, the paper crinkling. Nate and Vanessa claimed the house was theirs now, demanding I pay to stay. I remembered writing checks for Nate's business degree, my retirement shrinking with each one. My breath caught, a betrayal sharper than any knife. I set the bill down, coffee steam curling like my rising hurt. I needed answers. I marched to the living room where Vanessa lounged on her new leather couch, her phone glowing. At 38, she was all angles, sharp cheekbones, sharper words, her mission to erase my mark on this home clear in every modern knickknack. Nate stood by the window, scrolling his phone, his broad frame a ghost of James's warmth. At 40, his failed startups had left him grasping, and I was his lifeline. "Vanessa, what is this?" I held up the bill, my voice trembling. "Rent? For my own home?" She glanced up, lips curling. "You're a freeloader, Ellie. We can't carry you forever." Her sneer cut deep like she'd spat on James's grave. "Nate?" I turned to him, pleading. "This house is ours. I paid for your college." "It's just business, Mom," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Times are tough. You get it." His voice was flat, justifying his greed, as if my sacrifices were pocket change. My chest tightened, hurt deepening into a raw ache. "This is my home." I snapped, stepping forward, the bill crumpling in my fist. I built it with James, every brick. Vanessa shot up, her face twisting. Act your age, Ellie! Her hand flew, slapping my cheek with a sharp crack. Pain bloomed, hot and stinging. I stumbled, coffee splashing from the counter, scalding the floor with a hiss. From the stairs, Mia gasped, her wide eyes locking on me. At 15, she saw me as her hero, her low-key idol, and now her face crumpled. She fled upstairs, sneakers thudding, leaving silence heavier than the jazz records James loved. I touched my cheek, the sting rivaling the betrayal in my heart. Vanessa's cruelty wasn't new, but this was a line crossed. Nate shuffled, saying nothing, his silence a second slap. I turned away, my legs heavy, coffee's bitter scent now a choke in my throat. Love, I thought, shouldn't feel like this, like I'm a tenant in my own life. In my upstairs room, I sank onto the bed, the bill still clutched in my hand. Vanessa's storage boxes crowded the space, my life squeezed into corners. I smoothed the paper, reading the cold words again. Payable by July 1st. My eyes blurred, but not with tears. I saw James in my mind, his calloused hand steadying mine as we laid our first brick. "You're my backbone, Ellie," he'd said, his voice a warmth I clung to 14 years after his death. I set the bill down, my fingers brushing the laptop Sophie had given me years ago. Anger flickered, replacing the hurt that had weighed me down. I opened it, typing "elder abuse lawyer" with unsteady hands. A website for Amara Patel appeared, her photo radiating confidence. "We protect your rights," it promised. My pulse quickened, a lifeline maybe, to fight back. I clicked contact, my resolve hardening like the bricks of this house. Mia's gasp echoed in my mind, her horror a reminder that someone still saw me. Nate's greed, Vanessa's slap. They thought I'd break. But I wasn't just a mother who'd funded their dreams. I was Ellie, James's backbone, and I wasn't done. That bill wasn't a chain. It was a spark. Did I raise Nate, or just his greed? The question burned, raw as my cheek. Amara's voicemail played, "We fight for the overlooked." Will I call her? Nate called me useless in front of everyone. Did his words hurt more than Vanessa's slap? The backyard glowed under string lights, the sizzle of grilled chicken mingling with jazz, drifting from a speaker. It was a Lansing summer evening, the block party in full swing, but my heart was heavy. Amara's voicemail, "We fight for the overlooked," had sparked hope this morning. But now, standing among neighbors, I felt invisible. Nate's text, "Get her to sign," and Vanessa's slap yesterday burned in my mind, but nothing prepared me for what was coming. I was Ellie Harper, 72, and my home, built with James's love, was slipping away. I adjusted a tablecloth, my hands unsteady, arranging paper plates as neighbors laughed, their voices warm with Vanessa's charm. She'd won them over with her flashy smile, her modern flair, while I, the widow who baked pies, faded into the background. I wanted respect, to reclaim the love that held this family together, but Nate's eyes, cold and distant, told me I was fighting a losing battle. I smoothed my apron, remembering James's hammer swings, each nail a promise for our kids' future. Nate stood by the grill, beer in hand, his broad frame commanding attention. At 40, pride masked his career flops, and I was his scapegoat. Vanessa, 38, hovered nearby, her smirk sharp as her heels, egging him on. She wanted me gone, my home hers to reshape. Nate raised his bottle, his voice booming. "To family, though Mom never did enough for us." Guests gasped, their chatter stilled. Vanessa's lips curled, smug. My face burned, hotter than the charcoal. I'd funded his degree, skipped vacations, but he denied it all. Jazz notes soured, grating my ears, as shame washed over me like a cold wave. I gripped a plate, my knuckles white, hurt slicing deeper than Vanessa's slap. Nate's words weren't just cruel, they were a public execution of my sacrifices. I wanted to shout, to tell them about the nights I worked late, saving for his dreams, but my throat tightened. The neighbor's eyes darted away, pitying, and I felt smaller than ever. I stumbled to the side yard, away from the lights, my breath shaky. Mia followed, her sneakers soft on the grass. At 15, she was Nate's daughter, but mine in spirit, her eyes wide with loyalty. "You're enough, Grandma," she whispered, hugging me tight. "You're my low-key hero." Her words were a lifeline, pulling me from the shame. I held her, smelling her strawberry shampoo, thinking of her love for my stories, James's game nights, our snowball fights. She saw me when no one else did. Sophie appeared late as always, her purse slung over her shoulder. At 35, she was distant, her resentment from my missing her 25th birthday, stuck at the hospital, still raw. "Work's crazy," she mumbled, avoiding my eyes, Vanessa's influence clear in her stiff posture. I reached for her, but she stepped back and my anger simmered, a spark catching flame. "Sophie, please," I said, but she shook her head, slipping into the crowd. Mia squeezed my hand, her warmth battling the chill of Sophie's rejection. I couldn't stay there under those lights with Nate's words echoing. I slipped into the garage, the air thick with oil and sawdust, James's toolbox a silent sentinel. I gripped it, my fingers tracing the dents from our hammer swings, each one a vow to our kids. "We built this for them," I whispered, my voice cracking. Nate's insult wasn't just a wound, it was a fracture, splitting our family apart. Anger surged, hot and fierce, pushing me toward action. I wasn't just hurt. I was ready to fight. A shadow moved, and Mrs. Larson, my neighbor, stepped in, her gray hair catching the dim light. "Ellie," she whispered, pressing a business card into my hand. "Amara Patel saved my aunt from her son's schemes." Her voice was low, charcoal smoke clinging to her sweater. I stared at the card, Amara's name bold, a beacon of hope. My pulse quickened. Someone out there could help me stand up to Nate's greed, Vanessa's cruelty. Mia's hug, Mrs. Larson's card, they were signs I wasn't alone. I thought of James, his steady hands, his belief in me. Love built this home, but greed was tearing it down. Nate's public denial, rooted in his shame, had broken something sacred. Sophie's distance, tied to her birthday grudge, left me aching. But Mia's loyalty, her faith in my stories, kept maternal love alive. I pocketed the card, my jaw tight, the jazz fading behind me. Did I build this family, or just their resentment? The question seared, raw as the coals. I dialed Amara's number, hearing a ring. Will she answer? Vanessa tried to throw me out, but Gloria's words sparked a fire. Could James have left me a way to fight back? I stood in the living room, picking up crumpled napkins from last night's block party, my hands trembling. The sting of Nate's toast. Mom never did enough. Still burned, sharper than Vanessa's slap. Amara's phone had rung this morning, her voicemail a flicker of hope, but it was James's memory, his steady hands building this Lansing home, that anchored me. The room felt cold, Vanessa's sleek decor, chrome lamps, abstract prints, erasing my floral warmth. Farmers' market chatter hummed through open windows, the scent of fresh bread clashing with my heavy heart. I was Ellie Harper, 72, a widow fighting to reclaim my home, my respect. Nate's words had cracked our family, but I wasn't ready to crumble. I straightened a frame, my fingers brushing a photo of James, his grin frozen in time. I wanted to hold on to the love we'd built, but Vanessa's shadow loomed, her heels clicking as she stormed in. "Pack up, Ellie," she shouted, her face twisted. "This isn't your home anymore." At 38, Vanessa's control was her armor, her resentment for my presence a blade. She gripped my arm, pushing me toward the door, her nails digging in. My knees buckled, the bread scent soured by her rage. I stumbled, grabbing the couch, my heart racing. "Vanessa, stop!" I gasped, but her eyes gleamed, cold and unyielding. Sophie burst in, her purse swinging. "Stop it!" she yelled, her voice sharp. At 35, she was distant, her grudge from my missing her 25th birthday, volunteering at the hospital, still raw. But now her eyes flashed, conflicted. "You can't do this," she said, glaring at Vanessa, her guilt stirring. Vanessa sneered, releasing me. "Fine, stay out of my way." She strode out, leaving a chill. I rubbed my arm, bruises forming, anger flaring hotter than the summer sun. Sophie hesitated, then left, her silence a fresh cut. I sank onto the couch, my chest tight. Vanessa's push wasn't just cruel, it was a declaration of war, stripping me of my place in my own home. I wanted to scream, to tell her I'd built this house with James, every nail a sacrifice for Nate, Sophie, Lucas. But my voice caught, smothered by hurt. The market's chatter faded, bread's warmth a cruel reminder of family meals now gone. The doorbell chimed, and Gloria shuffled in, balancing coffee cups. At 70, her warm eyes held a pain I knew. Estranged from her son over a loan dispute, she understood betrayal. "Ellie, you look like you've seen a ghost," she said, setting a cup down. The coffee's rich scent steadied me. I told her about Vanessa's push, Nate's insult, my voice cracking. Gloria nodded, her silver braid glinting. "My son cut me off for money," she said softly. "But James? He always had a plan. Check his files, Ellie." Her words lit a spark, hope flickering in my chest. Gloria's faith, her own scars, gave me strength. I sipped the coffee, its warmth spreading, and felt my hurt shift to anger, then determination. "You're right," I said, my jaw tight. "James wouldn't leave me defenseless." Gloria squeezed my hand, her calluses rough but kind. Love, I thought, wasn't just family. It was allies like her, fighting for you. I headed to the garage, the air thick with oil and sawdust, James's toolbox a silent promise. The market's hum faded, replaced by the creak of his old desk. I rifled through drawers, my fingers brushing faded receipts, until I found a folder labeled Trust. Inside was a document listing a Grand Rapids duplex address, one James bought after his health scare. "I'll protect you," he'd said, his voice echoing in my mind. My pulse quickened, a hidden asset gleaming like a lifeline. I clutched the folder, my resolve hardening like the oak beams we'd set together. Vanessa's push showed her desperation, her need to erase me rooted in resenting my stability. Sophie's intervention, her guilt over that missed birthday, hinted at a crack in her distance, a chance to rebuild. Gloria's story, her estrangement mirrored my fight, reinforcing the love that kept me standing. I wasn't just a mother undervalued, I was James's backbone, ready to uncover his secret. I flipped through the folder, my eyes catching a letter in James's scrawl, "For Ellie, my strength." My breath hitched, the paper trembling in my hands. This wasn't just a trust, it was his faith in me, a shield against their greed. I stood taller, the garage's dim light a beacon. They thought I'd break, but I was forging a new path, fueled by anger, sparked by hope. Did James foresee their betrayal, or was his love just that strong? The question pulsed, fierce as my heartbeat. Ellie finds a letter in the folder, in James's handwriting. "For Ellie, my strength." What does it reveal? Amara said the house is mine. Did James leave me a lifeline all these years? I sat in Amara Patel's sleek Lansing office, the morning light glinting off her glass desk, coffee shop aromas, roasted beans, warm pastries, drifted through an open window, mingling with the chatter of baristas next door. James's letter, found yesterday in that trust folder, weighed heavy in my purse. For Ellie, my strength. Its hope stirred me, but the mention of a Grand Rapids duplex hinted at secrets I'd forgotten. I was Ellie Harper, 72, and the sting of Vanessa's push, Nate's insult, still fueled my anger. I wanted my home back, my worth affirmed, and Amara's confident smile promised a fight. Amara, 35, leaned forward, her dark eyes sharp. "Ellie, James's trust is airtight. You own the house. The deed was never transferred. Her voice, steady and justice-driven, cut through my fog. I blinked, my hands gripping my purse. "And there's more," she said, sliding a document across. "A duplex in Grand Rapids, part of the trust." My breath caught. I vaguely recalled James's investment, a side project after his health scare, but I'd thought it sold years ago. "You're not a victim," Amara added, her words a spark. The coffee chatter hummed outside, grounding my surging hope. I clutched the document, my fingers tracing the duplex address. James had planned this, his foresight a shield against the greed tearing at our family. My anger at Vanessa's cruelty, her slap, her push, flared, but Amara's confidence shifted it to resolve. I wasn't just a widow, I was a fighter, ready to reclaim what was mine. "What's next?" I asked, voice firm. Amara grinned. "We build a case, gather evidence." The coffee's warmth lingered, like James's love, steadying me. Back home, I climbed to my upstairs room, rain pattering on the window like a restless drum. The space felt like a storage closet, Vanessa's boxes crowding my bed, my life squeezed into corners. I set the trust folder down, my cheek still tender from her slap. Lucas knocked, his shadow at the door. At 42, my son was a ghost, his broad frame slouched, guilt etching his face. "I'm sorry, Mom," he mumbled, eyes on the floor. His job loss 2 years ago had left him under Vanessa's thumb, her threats caging him. "Why won't you stop her, Lucas?" I pressed, stepping closer, my voice sharp. Rain tapped harder, a countdown. He shifted, his jaw tight. "She scared me after I lost my job, said I'd lose everything." His words stung, his silence a betrayal as deep as Nate's. I wanted to shake him, to remind him of the boy who'd helped me plant roses. "You're my son," I said, softer now, but he shook his head, backing away. "I can't." He left, the door clicking shut, and hurt bloomed, tempering my resolve. Lucas's cowardice was a wound, but I wouldn't let it stop me. My phone buzzed, Vanessa's text glaring. "Pay rent or get out." Her cruelty, her drive to control my home, sent a jolt of anger through me. I stared at the words, my pulse racing. She thought she'd break me, but she was wrong. I saved the screenshot, adding it to my evidence, my hands steady. I opened James's letter again, reading, "You're our backbone, Ellie." His scrawl was a whisper, warm as his touch, pulling me back to our days laying bricks, dreaming of our kids. Tears fell, but they weren't weakness, they were fire. I rifled through the trust folder, my fingers brushing a bank statement I'd missed. It listed recent deposits from the duplex, income I never knew about. My breath hitched, the numbers glowing like a hidden treasure. James had protected me, his foresight a lifeline against Nate's greed, Vanessa's schemes. I clutched the statement, resolve rooting deep like the oak beams of our home. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a strategist, ready to fight with Amara's help. Lucas's silence, his fear of Vanessa, strained our bond, his guilt a mirror of my own doubts. Had I failed him, or had she stolen him? Amara's support, her passion for elder rights, bolstered my self-worth, a reminder I wasn't alone. Vanessa's text, her relentless antagonism, pushed the family further apart, but Mia's loyalty, Sophie's hesitation, kept hope alive. Maternal love wasn't lost. It was my weapon, forged in James's trust. I thought of our house, every brick a vow. Vanessa's cruelty, her push, her texts, they were attacks on that vow. But James's gift, this trust, was my shield. I stood, the rain's patter, a rhythm of my resolve. I wasn't just angry, I was empowered, ready to uncover every secret, to fight for my place. The duplex wasn't just an asset, it was proof of James's faith in me, a call to stand tall. Was I blind to James's gift, or to my children's greed? The question seared, fierce as the rain. The statement listed a recent deposit. Who's managing the duplex? Vanessa's selling my home, but my camera caught her words. Can Sophie see the truth in time? I stood in the living room, my fingers trembling as I plugged in a nightlight, its soft glow hiding a nanny cam Gloria had slipped me. Slow jazz pulsed from Vanessa's speaker, its sultry notes jarring my nerves. Rain dripped outside, a steady patter against my Lansing home, where I'd raised my kids with love. The duplex bank statement from James's trust folder found yesterday puzzled me. Those deposits, a secret I hadn't known. But Vanessa's scheme, whatever it was, threatened everything. I was Ellie Harper, 72, heartbroken but sharpening my edges, ready to protect my legacy. The hallway was dim, Vanessa's modern frames glinting like cold eyes. I adjusted the cam, my pulse racing. At 38, Vanessa was scheming, her overconfidence a blade aimed at my home. She thought she could erase me, but I wasn't the frail widow she imagined. I recalled Sophie's childhood trust, her small hand in mine, and my heart ached to reclaim that bond. Anger surged, fueled by Vanessa's slap, Nate's insult, and Lucas's silence. I wasn't just fighting for bricks, I was fighting for love. Gloria had left minutes ago, her words lingering. "You're stronger than my son ever was." At 70, her estrangement from him gave her wisdom, her faith in me a spark. The cam whirred softly, and I froze as Vanessa's voice drifted from the kitchen, sharp and low. "Mia, once Ellie's gone, we'll sell this house," she said. My blood boiled, the jazz's rhythm a taunt. I peered around the corner, seeing Mia's wide eyes, her loyalty to me clashing with her mother's cruelty. The cam caught it all, Vanessa's plan laid bare. I slipped upstairs, my breath short, the music's pulse echoing my rage. In the kitchen later, Sophie stood, her purse slung over her shoulder, her face tight. At 35, she was distant, her resentment from my missing her 25th birthday, stuck at the hospital, still a wall between us. "Vanessa says the engagement party's not for you, Mom," she said, her voice flat. I stepped closer, my heart cracking. "Sophie, I missed your birthday for the hospital, not by choice," I pleaded, my voice breaking. "I wanted to be there." Rain echoed my tears, tapping the window like a plea. Sophie's eyes softened, guilt stirring, but she shook her head. "I need to think," she mumbled, leaving. The door clicked shut and my anger deepened, a fire fed by her rejection. I climbed to my room, the space a cage with Vanessa's boxes crowding my bed. Rain pattered, a restless rhythm as I sank onto the mattress, jazz fading downstairs. I opened my laptop, the nanny cam footage glowing. Vanessa's words, "Sell this house," played again, her smirk a knife. My hands shook, emailing the clip to Amara. I thought of Sophie's hesitation, Mia's shock, and my life poured into this home. Every pie baked, every bedtime story. "I gave them my life," I whispered, anger sharpening into strategy. "They won't win." Silence settled, heavy as my resolve. I leaned back, Rain's cadence steadying me. Vanessa's scheme, her overconfidence, was isolating her. Sophie's pause, Mia's eyes, showed cracks in her grip. Sophie's exclusion, tied to her birthday grudge, hurt like a bruise, but her guilt hinted at remorse. Gloria's support, her own pain echoing mine, bolstered my maternal strength. I wasn't alone. I had allies, evidence, James's trust. Love wasn't just sacrifice, it was standing up, fighting back. I stood, pacing, when Nate's voice floated through the vent, low and urgent. "The duplex will save us," he said on the phone. My heart stopped. How did he know about the duplex? The bank statement flashed in my mind. Those deposits, a secret I'd barely grasped. My anger flared, white hot at their audacity. They weren't just after my home. They wanted James's legacy, every piece of me. I gripped the folder, my knuckles white, resolve hardening like the oak beams we'd set together. I sat, staring at the laptop, Amara's email open. The footage was my leverage, the trust my shield. Vanessa thought I'd crumble, but she'd misjudged me. I recalled Sophie's small hand, her trust as a child, and vowed to fight for her, for Mia, for myself. Maternal love wasn't weakness, it was my fire burning brighter with every betrayal. I typed a note to Amara. They're planning more. I'm ready. The jazz was gone. Silence my ally now. I thought of James, his calloused hands, his promise. You're our backbone. He'd built this home, this trust to protect me. Vanessa's scheme, Sophie's rejection, they were attacks on that promise. But I was no victim. I was a strategist, with evidence mounting. The duplex wasn't just an asset. It was proof of James's faith, a call to stand tall. I closed the laptop, my jaw tight, Rain's rhythm my pulse. Did I lose Sophie to Vanessa, or to my own mistakes? The question cut, raw as the rain. Nate's voice echoed, "The duplex will save us." How does he know about it? Nate smashed James's photo, shattering my heart. Can I forgive a son who destroys my past? I stood in the kitchen, the scent of Gloria's potluck casserole thick in the air, my hands clenched. Nate's voice from last night, "The duplex will save us," still echoed, a chilling hint of their greed. But it was James's letter, for Ellie, my strength, tucked in my pocket that fueled my fight. The floor glittered with broken glass from James's photo, Nate's latest wound. Church potluck chatter drifted through the window, a cruel contrast to the fracture in my Lansing home. I was Ellie Harper, 72, angry and resolute, determined to protect the legacy James and I built. Lucas slouched at the table, his eyes fixed on his coffee mug. At 42, he was my quiet son, his guilt a heavy shadow. Vanessa's control, tightened after his job loss, had caged him, and his silence cut as deep as Nate's insults. "Why won't you stop Vanessa?" I demanded, stepping closer, my voice sharp. "She's tearing us apart." Potluck laughter hummed outside, mocking our tension. Lucas's jaw twitched, his fingers tightening on the mug. "She threatened me after I lost my job," he mumbled. "Said I'd lose everything." His eyes flicked away, shame etched in his frown. I leaned in, my anger simmering. "You're my son, Lucas. Fight for me." He shook his head, standing abruptly, and left, the door clicking shut. Hurt bloomed, a fresh bruise, but my anger burned hotter, pushing me forward. I turned, the casserole's warmth fading. If your own child smashed the last photo you had of your husband, would you break down or break free? What I did next wasn't easy, but if you're still with me, drop a 6 in the comments, because this part still shakes me. Nate stormed into the living room, his face flushed. At 40, his financial desperation fueled his cruelty, my sacrifices, funding his degree, my retirement, dismissed. "You paying that rent yet, Mom?" he snapped, pacing near the mantel where James's photo once stood. I gripped the letter in my pocket, my voice steady. "I know about the trust, Nate. This house is mine." His eyes narrowed, a flash of panic. "You're delusional," he spat, grabbing the framed photo of James, his grin frozen in time. "He's gone! Move on!" he shouted, smashing it on the floor. Glass splintered, scattering like my heart. I trembled, clutching the letter, my knees weak. Mia gasped from the doorway, her voice cracking. "Dad, stop!" At 15, her loyalty to me, born from my stories, clashed with her father's rage. I stared at the shards, James's face torn, and anger roared, white hot. Nate's act wasn't just cruel, it was a desecration, erasing the man who'd built this home with me. I wanted to scream, to tell him every late night I'd worked, every dream I'd shelved for him. But my voice caught, choked by the glass at my feet. Mia's eyes, wide with horror, anchored me. Nate stormed out, leaving silence sharper than the jazz from last night. In my upstairs room, evening shadows crept in, rain pattering like a restless pulse. Vanessa's boxes crowded my space, my life squeezed into corners. Mia slipped in, her sneakers soft on the floor, holding her phone. "Grandma, look!" she whispered, showing a screenshot of Vanessa's text. "Forge the deed fast." My breath hitched. The words, a knife. Vanessa's scheme, her drive to steal my home, was relentless, but Mia's bravery, inspired by my game night tales, was my light. "You're my low-key hero," she said, hugging me. I held her tight, her warmth easing the hurt from Lucas's silence. Gloria arrived, her silver braid glinting, carrying a thermos of tea. At 70, her estrangement from her son gave her strength, her eyes warm with faith in me. "My son cut me off, but I survived," she said, pouring tea, its chamomile scent soothing. "You will too, Ellie." Her words, her own scars, bolstered my resolve. I added the screenshot to my evidence, emailing Amara, my hands steady. "They won't win," I said, my voice firm. The casserole's scent faded, replaced by determination. Tea's warmth, my fuel. Nate's destruction, rooted in his financial shame, had alienated Mia, his selfishness a chasm. Lucas's guilt, tied to Vanessa's threats, strained our bond, his inaction a mirror of my fears. Had I failed them? Mia's loyalty, her faith in my stories, kept maternal love alive, a flame against their greed. Gloria's backstory, her survival, echoed my fight, urging me on. I was no victim. I was James's backbone, gathering evidence, ready to strike. I opened James's letter again, its words my mantra. "You're our strength." Every brick we'd laid, every vow was under attack. Vanessa's scheme, Nate's cruelty. They thought I'd break. But I had the trust, the cam, Mia's heart. I stood, pacing, when I noticed Nate's desk in the corner, papers spilling out. I rifled through, my fingers brushing a document, a forged trust amendment, claiming the house as theirs. My pulse raced, the paper trembling in my hands. This was their move, bold and desperate. But I was ready. Did I raise Nate to destroy me, or did his greed break him? The question seared, fierce as my resolve. Ellie finds a forged trust amendment in Nate's desk drawer. Is it their final move? Vanessa pushed me and locked the door, but my plan's ready. Will my voice shatter their lies? I stood in the hallway, my heart pounding, the forged trust amendment I'd found in Nate's desk burning a hole in my pocket. Jazz music thumped outside, its brassy notes mingling with laughter from the neighborhood block party flooding my Lansing backyard. The air smelled of grilled burgers, but inside, tension choked me. The duplex, James's secret asset, was a lifeline, but Vanessa's scheme threatened it all. I was Ellie Harper, 72, resolute and defiant, ready to reclaim my dignity. James's letter, for Ellie my strength, was my fire, his trust foresight, my shield. Vanessa appeared, her silhouette sharp against the party's glow. At 38, her cruelty was a weapon, her need to isolate me rooted in desperation to control my home. "Stay out of our party," she hissed, her eyes glinting like her diamond earrings. She lunged, pushing me toward my room, her hands shoving my shoulders. I stumbled, nearly toppling, my hip grazing the wall with a jolt of pain. "Get in there," she snarled, her voice low but venomous. I caught my balance, my breath ragged, but before I could speak, she slammed the door, the lock clicking with a cold snap. I banged my fists, shouting, "Vanessa, open this!" Jazz drowned my cries, the party's laughter a cruel echo. Sophie stood frozen at the hallway's end, her eyes wide, guilt flickering across her face at 35. My anger blazed, hotter than the summer night, Vanessa's aggression a spark to my resolve. I sank onto my bed in the upstairs room, dust tickling my nose, Vanessa's storage boxes crowding me like a prisoner. The rain from yesterday was gone, but the jazz pulsed, relentless. I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling, and texted Amara, "Locked in, need help." At 35, Amara's confidence, her passion for elder rights, was my anchor. Her reply came fast. "The amendment's fake. I'm drafting eviction notices and an elder abuse complaint for Sophie's engagement party." I exhaled, gripping James's letter, its paper worn soft. Amara's words shifted my anger to resolve. I wasn't trapped. I was planning. Sophie's silhouette lingered in my mind, her silence a wound, but her frozen look hinted at remorse, tied to her grudge over my missing her 25th birthday for hospital work. The door creaked and Sophie slipped in, her purse clutched tight. "I was wrong about you, Mom," she whispered, unlocking the door, her voice cracking. Her eyes, red-rimmed, met mine, guilt pouring out. "I thought you didn't care, but Vanessa's awful." I nodded, hope stirring, my hand reaching for hers. She squeezed it, brief but warm, then left, her footsteps soft. Maternal love flickered, a flame rekindled, her shift a crack in Vanessa's hold. I stood, my back straighter, the jazz's rhythm no longer a taunt, but a call to action. Later, I paced my room, hearing party cleanup below. Cups rattling, chairs folding, voices fading. The air smelled stale. Vanessa's boxes a reminder of my shrinking space. I gripped James's letter, its words my mantra. "You're our backbone." I practiced my confrontation speech, my voice low but steady. "I'm not a burden," I said to the mirror, my reflection fierce, eyes burning with resolve. I thought of James, his calloused hands laying bricks, his trust a vow to protect me. Vanessa's push, her lock, they were attacks on that vow, but I was ready to strike back. The jazz faded, silence settling like a promise. I paused by the vent, catching Vanessa's voice, sharp and smug. "The duplex sale's set," she said, her phone call drifting up. My heart stopped. She was targeting James's asset, the duplex I'd just learned about, her scheme bolder than I'd feared. I scribbled the words, my hand shaking, the micro-twist a jolt to my plan. Vanessa thought she'd outsmarted me, but Amara's notices, my evidence, were stacking up. Resolve surged, a tide lifting me above her cruelty. Vanessa's aggression, her need to dominate, was isolating her. Sophie's shift showed it. Her push, her lock, were desperate, born of underestimating me. Sophie's remorse, rooted in her birthday misunderstanding, began her redemption, a thread of maternal love pulling us closer. Amara's strategy, her legal fire, strengthened my self-worth, a reminder I wasn't alone. I thought of Mia's loyalty, Lucas's guilt, the family I'd built. Vanessa's scheme wasn't just about the house. It was about erasing me, James, our love. But I was no victim. I was a fighter, armed with truth. I sat folding James's letter, its weight a comfort. Every brick we'd laid, every sacrifice was under attack. Nate's photo smash, Lucas's silence, Vanessa's push, they thought I'd break. But the trust, the cam, Sophie's hand, they were my arsenal. I imagined the engagement party, my voice rising, shattering their lies. Resolve wasn't just anger, it was power, forged in love, tempered by betrayal. The cleanup clatter stopped. Silence my ally now. I thought of our home, its oak beams, James's laugh. Vanessa's lock was a cage, but I'd built doors before. The duplex wasn't just money, it was James's faith, a call to stand tall. I stood, my jaw tight, the room's dust no longer choking, but a grit I'd outlast. My plan was ready, my voice a weapon, and Sophie's shift, Amara's notices, were my army. I wasn't locked away. I was rising, ready to claim my place. Did they think a lock could silence me, or did they forget my strength? The question roared, fierce as my pulse. Vanessa's voice echoed, "The duplex sale's set." Has Ellie lost her chance to act? Vanessa's stealing my duplex, but Sophie's with me now. Is this the end of their lies? I stood in my living room, the morning light filtering through windows still smudged from last night's block party. The backyard was littered with plastic cups, but the hum of the nearby farmer's market, carrying scents of fresh flowers, softened the mess. Vanessa's phone call, the duplex sales set, had jolted me awake. Her plan to steal James's asset, a bold strike. The forged trust amendment I'd found was useless against my trust, but my own duplex sale would outsmart her. I was Ellie Harper, 72, empowered and resolute, my heart set on protecting James's legacy, his love my guiding star. Sophie sat on the couch, her eyes red-rimmed, her purse clutched tight. At 35, her guilt over blaming me for missing her 25th birthday when I was volunteering at the hospital had cracked her distance. I opened my laptop, the nanny cam footage ready. "Watch this," I said, my voice steady. Vanessa's voice filled the room. "We'll sell this house once Ellie's gone." Sophie's breath hitched, tears spilling. "I blamed you for my birthday, but I was wrong," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Vanessa's a liar." She leaned forward, vowing, "I'll help, Mom." I showed her the duplex bank statement, and she grabbed her phone, researching property records. Flower scents drifted in, easing the tension, and my resolve surged. Sophie's redemption, a spark of maternal love. I hugged her, her shampoo's lavender scent grounding me. Sophie's support, her guilt turning to action, was a lifeline. Vanessa's scheme, exposed by the cam, was unraveling, but her duplex plan was a new threat. I thought of James, his warm hand in mine, his love woven into every brick of this home. My anger at Vanessa's overconfidence, her need to erase me, burned. But Sophie's tears tempered it, resolve peaking. "We'll stop her," I said, my jaw tight. Sophie nodded, typing furiously, her fingers a blur. The market's hum buzzed, a rhythm of our fight. At a coffee shop mid-morning, I met Amara, her sleek ponytail glinting under fluorescent lights. At 35, her calm strategy, driven by a passion for elder rights, was my rock. Coffee steam curled around us, its rich aroma steadying my nerves. "Vanessa's planning to sell the duplex," Amara said, sliding a document across. "She's using another forged trust amendment." My pulse quickened, the paper listing the duplex address I'd found. "It's invalid," Amara added, her smile sharp, "and you can beat her to it." She handed me a contract to sell the duplex myself, the funds earmarked for my legal fight and a fund for abused elders. I signed, my hand steady, thinking of James's foresight. "You're unstoppable, Ellie," Amara said, her voice warm. I exhaled, coffee's warmth fueling my resolve, the chatter of baristas a backdrop to my plan. Back home in the kitchen, afternoon light slanted through Vanessa's blinds, the market's hum fading. Vanessa sauntered in, her smirk sharp as her heels. "You'll be gone soon, Ellie," she taunted, leaning against the counter. At 38, her overconfidence blinded her to my counterplan. Nate followed, his face flushed, pride masking his financial woes. "Your sacrifices caused our debts, Mom," he shouted, his voice raw. "We're drowning because of you." My chest tightened, their ingratitude a knife, evoking a surge of anger. I wanted to scream, to list every late shift, every dollar I'd given, but I hid my plan, my voice calm. "We'll see," I said, gripping the forged amendment Mia had found in Nate's desk, tucked in my apron. My resolve was ironclad, their words fuel for my fire. I stepped back, my breath steady, the market's flower scents gone, replaced by the kitchen's stale air. Nate's justification, blaming me for his failures, deepened our rift, his pride a wall. Vanessa's taunt, her scheme to sell the duplex, showed her desperation, her control slipping. I thought of Sophie's tears, her vow to help, and Mia's loyalty, her screenshot of Vanessa's text, Amara's documents, her calm strength, bolstered my self-worth, a reminder I wasn't alone. Maternal love wasn't just sacrifice. It was strategy, a fight for my legacy. I retreated to my room, the amendment in hand, but Mia slipped in, her eyes wide. "Grandma, look," she whispered, holding her phone. A legal notice from Amara, found in Nate's desk, listed the eviction proceedings. My heart raced, the paper a new twist in their scheme. Mia's bravery, her faith in my stories, anchored me, her voice soft. "You're my low-key hero." I hugged her, her warmth a shield. The notice confirmed Vanessa's duplex plan, but my sale was already in motion, my plan outpacing theirs. I sat, folding the amendment, my fingers tracing its lies. James's love, his trust, had built this home, this duplex to protect me. Vanessa's taunts, Nate's blame, they were attacks on that love. But I was ready. Sophie's redemption, her research, wove us closer, a thread of maternal love. Amara's strategy, Mia's loyalty were my army, my resolve a fortress. I thought of our house, its oak beams, James's laugh. Vanessa's scheme wasn't just greed, it was erasure, but I was rewriting the story. I stood, my jaw tight, the room's silence, my ally. The legal notice was a threat, but my duplex sale, my evidence, were my counterstrike. I imagined Sophie's party, my voice rising, exposing their lies. Resolve wasn't just anger, it was power, forged in love, tempered by betrayal. The market's hum was gone, my breath steady, a rhythm of my fight. I wasn't just Ellie. I was James's backbone, ready to ignite the truth. Did Vanessa think she could steal my legacy, or did James outsmart her? The question roared, fierce as my heart. Mia showed Ellie a legal notice from Amara in Nate's desk. What's Nate hiding now? I burned their lies in front of everyone. Did Nate and Vanessa think they could break me? I stepped into my backyard, fairy lights twinkling above Sophie's engagement party, the scent of grilled chicken wafting from a buffet. Soft jazz played, its notes masking the storm brewing in my chest. The forged amendment found in Nate's desk was ashes in my mind, my duplex sale a victory funding my future. I was Ellie Harper, 72, defiant and liberated, ready to reclaim my home and dignity. James's letter, "You're my backbone," thrummed in my heart, his trust my strength as I clutched a manila envelope. Guests milled under the lancing sky, their laughter clashing with my resolve. Vanessa stood by the bar, her diamond earrings glinting, her smirk sharp at 38. "You don't belong here, Ellie," she sneered, her voice cutting through the jazz. Heads turned, murmurs rising, but I stood tall, my navy dress crisp, thinking of James's words. I wasn't the widow they'd pushed and locked away. I was their reckoning. My heart pounded, liberation surging, tempered by anger at their betrayal, Nate's insults, Vanessa's slap, their schemes to steal my home and duplex. Amara Patel stepped forward, her sleek blazer stark under the tent. At 35, her confidence, fueled by a passion for elder rights, was my anchor. "Ellie Harper owns this home," she announced, her voice clear, slicing through the jazz's fade. She held eviction notices, her eyes locked on Nate and Vanessa. These cite elder abuse, financial coercion, and a forged trust amendment. Guests gasped, phones rising. I opened my envelope, pulling out the amendment's copy. "This is their lie," I said, my voice steady. "But James's trust proves the truth. I own this house, and I sold the duplex to fund my fight." I struck a match, dropping the paper into a fire pit. Flames crackled, the amendment curling black, ashes rising like my triumph. Mia, 15, filmed from the crowd, whispering, "Low-key hero, Grandma." Her loyalty a spark in her wide eyes. The fire's glow lit Vanessa's face, her fury boiling over. Nate, 40, pushed through, his pride crumbling. "You're ruining us, Mom," he yelled, his voice raw, denying every sacrifice. My retirement, his degree. "We needed that money." My anger flared, but I held firm, the flames mirroring my resolve. Vanessa lunged, screaming, "You old fool!" her hands clawing toward me. Sophie, 35, blocked her, shouting, "Enough!" Her eyes, wet with emotion, met mine, her guilt over our birthday, misunderstanding, now redemption. "She's my mom," Sophie said, her voice fierce, standing by me. Guests recorded, chicken forgotten on plates, jazz drowned by gasps. I faced Nate, my voice ringing. "I'm not a burden, I'm the backbone." The words, born from James's letter, freed me, liberation washing over me like a tide. Nate's face paled, his defiance cracking, Vanessa's lunge a desperate flail. I thought of every brick we'd laid, every late shift I'd worked, every pie I'd baked. Their greed, Nate's insults, Vanessa's push, had tried to erase me, but I'd won. Mia's camera, Amara's notices, Sophie's stand, they were my army, my self-worth blazing. A guest's phone flashed, posting the scene online, the video a spark that would spread, amplifying my victory. I stepped back, the fire pit's warmth fading, jazz notes returning, soft and mournful. Nate's defiance, rooted in his career flops, had sealed his downfall, guests turning away, their murmurs cold. Vanessa's loss of control, her desperation to dominate, humiliated her, her scream echoing in the silence. Sophie's defense, her bond with me rebuilt, wove maternal love tighter, her redemption alight. Mia's filming, her pride in my stories, amplified my strength, her loyalty a bridge to the future. Amara's legal blow, her strategic calm, affirmed my worth, a testament to justice. I thought of James, his calloused hands, his trust a vow to protect me. Nate's shout, Vanessa's lunge, they were attacks on that vow, but I'd stood taller. The video spread wasn't just exposure, it was proof I wasn't silent, wasn't broken. Every sacrifice, every brick had built this moment. I wasn't just Ellie, I was liberated, my dignity reclaimed, my home mine again. The jazz swelled, a gentle coda, fairy lights glowing like stars. As I stood in my Lansing home, the sting of Vanessa's scheme to sell my house and Nate's chilling words about the duplex still echoed, but Sophie's hesitant guilt gave me hope. My journey from feeling erased to uncovering James's trust taught me that family bonds can fray, but love, when rooted in truth, endures. Even when children stray, forgiveness and standing firm in our worth can mend what's broken, like piecing together a cherished quilt. In life, as long as we hold space for love, we find strength to rebuild. If this story touched your heart, please share your thoughts in the comments or join us for more tales of family and resilience. Your voice, like mine, matters.